person you're talking to is and your relationship to them. So to have a clear picture of them, like, that's your job as an actor. Like, you can't just know who you are. You need to know everyone in the script. So I think when I actually became like a professional actor, that was like one of the light bulbs that was different from like being someone who was just like, I want to be an actress, to being someone who's like, oh, I'm an actor and we need to tell a story now.
And so you did Dorothy. After that, were there any other roles that you took in your early days?
No, I mean, I did a lot of school shows. I did Pajama Game. That was my first ensemble role. I was in 6th grade, and I hated being ensemble, but you got to pay your dues. Then I moved schools, and I found my best friends, who I still have today, in Alice in Wonderland for that school show. And we actually were, I was like, do you remember the flowers in Alice in Wonderland that are like mean to her in the movie? They like torment her. They sing her a lovely song and then they're like, you're ugly.
You were one of them.
So I was Rose, my best friend Amber was Lily, and then our other best friend, Sabrina, was Daisy. And they're still my friends today, so it's like 7 years later.
That sounds like a fun role. You got to be someone a little more villainous in a way.
Yeah, and then in 8th grade, I was Glinda in the Wizard of Oz, so that was fun.
Oh, wow.
I got to live out my Glinda dream. And then high school started. I got a role in 11th grade as Heidi LaRue in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And that role was so much fun because she's just some Jersey diva that I got to live my best life and accent out on.
That's fun. Well, circling back a little, I remember seeing you in the St. John's Talent Show. And you sang Landslide.
Yeah.
Why
I did talent shows a lot.
Why that song?
I don't know. As a kid, I kind of just would, I would find a song that I would just love, and I wouldn't stop singing it. And then if a talent show popped up, I'd be like, I'm going to sing that song. And Landslide happened to be that song. And I mean, my mom and now I love Stevie Nicks. So.
How can you not?
Of course.
This is awesome. So in 2011, your parents get divorced. And then you had to move into a group home?
Yeah, so basically around the time of The Wizard of Oz, so there was a bit of a scandal. So my mom fell in love with the pastor of that church. So around the time of The Wizard of Oz, my Harrison, who was the director, was the pastor's son, and his two siblings, Samantha and Hunter, were also in the show. Sam was Glinda, so she was my inspiration for when I was Glinda a couple years later. They were my best friends, and The Wizard of Oz was like the last thing that I really got to do with my best friends until it was kind of like taboo to hang out with them because marriages were falling apart and people's feelings were hurt and adults were acting like children, so the children couldn't act like children anymore. And I think that's kind of why The Wizard of Oz is so just my favorite movie today. And I love Wicked, the Broadway show. Like, it runs so deep for me. So then my mom, in order to, like, keep our heads afloat during the divorce, because it's so expensive, and again, parents don't always act most mature, she got a job at a group home at AHRC. It's a local company in New York, and basically they cater to mentally disabled people, both physically disabled and mentally disabled. And so I lived in a house with her, and then eventually my step family of 5 people, Harrison was away at college, so that's why that math is, we lived in a group home with 9 mentally disabled people, and there was always 2 people in the house that were 24-hour staff. And then on top of that, there was people from the state coming in and checking things, fire alarms at like the middle of the night monthly to like check things. Like, it was like living in just like a company as a home. And it was very hard on all of us, but it also was so eye-opening to a population that like we really weren't very exposed to on that level. And I got to see, like, I just got to see how people are taken care of and how differences can be celebrated. And I mean, the people who lived in the house, the clients that we were caring for, they loved me so much. Like, I was a celebrity to them. And it was really adorable. I mean, sometimes it would get annoying because I would walk outside, like, twice because I forgot something, and, like, they would have the same reaction that they had the first time. They'd be like, oh, my God, hi. And I'd be like, I just saw you 2 seconds ago. So cute. But, like, on the 11th time, it's like, oh, my God, I just need to grab a granola bar. Like, you know? But, yeah, they were, like, my biggest fans, and they were so cute and supportive. And I would always, like, I'd have my voice lessons out there, and I would sing, and they would, like, clap along, and then they were inspired and wanted to take singing lessons with my vocal coach. And so she would come twice a week, once for me and once for the group home, and they would do, like, sing along and have voice lessons. And yeah, it was just something for them to do and something for them to be a part of, and it was really cool to kind of be the person that brought that into the house. So yeah.
And that helped you during this time with what was going on.
I mean, I think looking back on it, it's one of those little gemstones that I didn't notice was a gemstone until I was sitting right here talking about it and, like, seeing how it unfolded. I think at the time I was just, oh my God, I was a middle schooler and a high schooler, and I was just trying to figure out life and school and boys and college. So I was busy with that. But for the most part, it was a really cool place to build a cool story to tell. So, yeah. And
then Mom marries Harry Schenkel.
Yeah, so, yeah, they got married, and so we all ended up living in a one-bedroom apartment that was attached to this house. Yeah, it was a very crowded house. We were very close ties. But, yeah, I mean, it definitely just gave us a stronger sense of family.
And you were cool with that?
Oh, yeah, it was cool. I mean, his kids were my best friends, and he was always, like, a parent figure to me anyway. So I was just happy that people were happy. That's all I ever wanted for my parents. So once they could make themselves happy, I was much happier.
So what made you decide to say to yourself, acting is what I want to pursue as a career?
Oh my gosh, it was just something that I always wanted. I mean, I don't even remember the moment when I was like, aha, acting, because it just was so... And I mean, in school, like, they would do, like, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would just kind of sit there and be like, I was so used to just always wanting to be an actress that when they asked me that, I was like, okay, what do I want? I think I just want to travel around the world and help animals or something. And I was like, oh, wait, duh, I want to be an actress. I don't want to do that. So it was just always, like, something that I wanted to do. Yeah.
And so not too long after you got your first gig in the SantaCon?
Oh, my first gig in SantaCon. Yeah, I mean, that was my first exposure to film, because I had always been on the East Coast doing theater, and I mean, like, not professional theater, just like school and stuff. But so Melissa was directing a Christmas movie for Lifetime called SantaCon, and the SantaCon, and she was like, hey, do you want to do background and be like a disgruntled elf that sits next to Santa Claus while the scene goes on? It'll be cool. You'll get to see, like, what it's like to be in a movie. And I was like, oh my God, hell yeah. So I brought Sam, my stepsister, with me, and we got all disgruntled up and Christmas up, and we're elves for it. And it was like a 12-hour day of just stop and go. And we were sweating in Bridgeport, Connecticut, pretending it was Christmas. There couldn't be any air conditioning because the sound guy. And we just did the same thing over and over again, which was nothing, over and over again. And I was like, wow, this is hard. This is a job. But I remember looking around and seeing how many people it took to make a movie. I mean, I feel like it definitely takes at least twice as many people to make a movie as it does to do like a show. And I think that's even true on Broadway, because I don't even think on Broadway the actors are the ones that are mostly bringing out their props and their sets and stuff. It's kind of like in high school it's like a stage crew deal where there's like stagehands. But I'm pretty sure once you get to professional theater, and I haven't really been able to do professional theater
yet.
It's kind of yes. That is my goal. I really want to do professional theater. But it's kind of like there's a stage manager who makes sure that everything's put in this place and no one dies and everyone's safe. And then the actors just have to make sure everything's there for them. Like they walk on with the table, the other walks on with the chairs, you know? So it was just very interesting to see how many jobs there were with movies. And I was like, okay, I could do this. I could find a job here. And even if it wasn't acting, if I wasn't able to, you know, get a part to do what I wanted to do in the movie, I could at least do something that wasn't what I wanted to do and still be able to feed myself. You know, it's possible. I could be that person sweeping every time they yell cut. Like, I could do it. But yeah, I think that was my first time being like, oh my God, it's a job. But it also was my first realization that I was paid for acting for the first time ever, and I officially was an actress. Even though it was background work, and no one puts that on their resume, which I found out when I moved to LA. Yeah. And the casting director was like, why do you have background work on your resume? And I was like, because I don't know, it's exciting.
How was it being directed by your sister?
I mean, she talks so fast. It was just like a normal conversation with her. She's always telling me what to do. She's my big sister. So it wasn't anything new. She kind of just like, okay, look pissed off and try to take this kid off of Santa while he yells at him. And I was like, got it. And then she's on to the next.
All right. So now college comes about. And you choose Wagner College?
Yeah, I went to Wagner College.
Where's that?
That's in Staten Island. Beautiful college. You can see the whole skyline of Manhattan, the Statue of Liberty, Freedom Tower, and the Empire State Building in one view. And it is beautiful.
A good acting program?
Oh, yeah. They are very good. Their program is amazing. I wasn't in the program there, though. I was one of those people who wanted to go to college but didn't want to go to college for acting because it's expensive and you don't need a degree to act. So I was very much caught in between being a dreamer and being a realistic person, which was very challenging. I mean, it was just so challenging. It was just 2 years of just utter challenge and despair and confusion and stress, which I'm sure every college person can agree to. Yeah. But because even though I wasn't in the acting program there, or the theater program, I should say, they still had resources available in classes that I could take. I could take voice lessons. I could take dance classes. I could kind of take acting classes, but for the most part, that was for the theater majors. But yeah, I mean, I was blessed to be able to see what it was like to go to a very prestige theater school and get some training from there. But it did not last because that place was very, very expensive. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I freaked out and I ended up transferring to Hunter College, which is also a very good school. It's a CUNY school, so it's much cheaper and quality is just as good. And I was a theater major there, but I still was kind of, they didn't have a business program, and I wanted to do business because I was like, oh, well, this is something that people won't be like, ooh, if I tell them that I have a business degree, so I'll do that. And then once I realized I was doing this all for other people and what people would think of me, I was like, I need to not go to college right now. I need to just stop and go for what I want to do. So I moved out to LA.
And when was that?
5 months ago.
Wow. She's newly transplanted. Holy cow.
Yeah, the last thing I wrote a 10-page research paper about how the advisement in this country needs to be better